And welcome today to virtual service right here at the Potters. So glad to be able to bring a message to you. I pray it will be edifying to you, comforting, encouraging to you as you walk along this journey that God has laid out for us. Here's my question for you. Have you ever wished that you could see into the future? If you are anywhere near normal, you've had that desire before. You know, we worry about our jobs, we worry about our health, we worry about our families, we stress, right? Because we are trapped in the present, blind to what happens next. But there is a text in the Word of God that tells us about the fact that God has got everything under control and He knew everything before it happened. Title of our message today is God Foreknew You. I'll read that text and expand on it in just a moment. Well, let me ask you, friend, have you ever wished about reading the future? God has already talked about it. There is a text that I love in the book of Romans, one of my favorite books of the Bible. Well, every book is my favorite book, but you know what I'm talking about. There's something about that book because it diagnoses the human condition and it gives God's remedy for it, and then it brings it to a great crescendo. Then it says, now this is what you ought to do about it. I love that. Listen to these words from a passage in Romans chapter 8, verses 28 and 29. Listen. And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to His purpose. For those whom He foreknew, He also predestined to be conformed to the image of His Son, in order that He might be the firstborn among many brothers. Powerful stuff there. God is talking about how he had the full picture before you even had the camera. How about that one? And He developed it. It's already developed in his heart, His mind. And we begin to live it out. Not that God determines everything that is going to be. He determines the end product. He determined that He's going to win. He determined that there's going to be a number that no man could number that's going to win along with Him. But He does not robotize, right, your life. You can choose within His big plan and within His big sovereignty, within His big providence, but within His big control over everything. That's what I love about Him, amongst many other things. You know, when we read the Word of God, we learn about God's foreknowledge. Foreknowledge. Fore, contraction, or short for before. Knowledge, understanding of all things. He had understanding of all things before there were things to understand. God had foreknowledge. But His foreknowledge is not like looking into a magic crystal ball, right? It's not just, it is not just God knowing the cold, hard facts about what will happen next. Oh, foreknowledge is a lot bigger than that. It is a deep eternal truth, okay? It weaves together his perfect knowledge with his loving plan for human history. Did you hear what I said? He has perfect knowledge of all things. There's nothing new God ever learned. And he weaves that together with his plan, his forecast, what he has determined before all things happened. He looks at the whole parade. Now, this will be today an exploration of this really, what's the word? Massive idea. All right? We will see that God's foreknowledge, his knowledge of the future, is not some kind of nebulous thing. It's not abstract. It is very practical and very personal. And it is the foundation of our hope for the whole of the future. So, first, consider this. Knowing in eternity past and divine knowing, okay? I want to see how all that works. To understand God, my friend, you and I must understand how he relates to time as it goes by, right? We live our lives like a person we live like someone who is watching a parade go by from the sidewalk. We're in one position, parade moves by. That's how we see life going by. We see the scope of things. We're standing in one position in the present, and we see it come by. And we can name every entry in that parade as it or they proceed by. We see the marching band, right? Then we wait, right? Then next we see the floats coming by, right? And finally, we see the fire truck at the end. We experience time in what is called a sequence. One event, then another, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. That's how we see. But my friend, God does not stand on the sidewalk. He is in a helicopter, as it were, right? He is high above all things, high above the city. And from that vantage point, he sees the beginning of the parade, he sees the middle of the parade, and he sees the end of the parade. He sees all of the parade at once, right? That's an amazing thing. At the exact same time, he sees past, present, and future. But because there's no past, present, and future, it's all right now to him. Doesn't that kind of give you a little bit more of a picture of how God sees the past, the present, and the future? He is present in all events of time. Well, the Bible tells us that God's grace was given to us as Christians, as believers, before the ages began. Wow. Before time began, God gave us grace. How? We didn't exist. Yeah, but God saw you existing before time began. You became aware of your existence at a certain point. Book of 2 Timothy, chapter 1, verse 9 kind of talks about that, right? Now, his knowledge is a reality that is eternal. It goes beyond the time that God invented for us to live in to work out his will. He does not have to wait for time to pass. to learn what will happen, because what will happen to God is already happening. You see? Long before you drew your first breath, God saw your entire story. He saw every year of it. He saw every month of it, every week of it. He saw every day of it. He saw every hour. He saw you get my point? Every minute, second, millisecond. He saw it all. And he sees it all right now. I thank God that God sees my future and tells me that it's going to work out all right when I don't feel like it's going to work out for me right now, because he sees it. You know, as we reach back, King David wrote in the beautiful Psalm 139, verse 16, it says, "Your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them." He saw all my stuff. Somehow he has a book written. Hey, my friend, you have heard that there's going to be a book in which God looks at every work of your entire life. He's going to have a life review. Don't get scared, all right? Don't try to start getting good now, all right? But listen, God looks at it all. But when I stand before him in heaven, that's a hint to you. God is not condemning you, but he wants you to see the whole thing. And it's not going to take you 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years to look through it, because time in heaven is quite different from time here. It will pass by in probably almost no time at all, but you will see you will relive your whole life. Life review, that's important stuff. He'll evaluate it, and he'll say, this is why I gave you grace. And that we'll respond, and this is why I bow down on my knees with my face toward the ground in worship to you. You love me despite myself, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And you have received me. I love that fact. Before my body was formed, you knew every day of my life. It's in your book. My God, my God. Well, because he sees all things, folks, and he sees it all at once, he is never surprised. God, listen, he connects with, he grasps, he apprehends, as it were, what will occur without his knowledge being limited by the ticking of a clock. You understand? That's the kind of God you serve. Hey, who would want a God who can't know the future? Oh, I want him to know. See? And so let's begin to talk a little bit about knowing and why God chooses as he does. We're going to spend some time on this subject matter. We're going to have a few messages on this whole process that God goes through. You'll see what I'm talking about as we move forward. I hope you come back, but I'm setting a foundation for it now. When we use the word, we use the word know, God knows, know, K-N-O-W. We usually mean having understanding and comprehension of facts, right? Things that are factually true. See, I know that the sky is blue. I know that the capital of France is Paris. But in the Bible, knowing is another kind of thing. Knowing has to do with how I relate to another person. That's what knowing is to God. Knowing is about love, communicated from one to another. It's about a covenant that you make. It's about your purpose for life. Now think about the difference between, I don't know, knowing a famous actor, right? But you know your friend in a different kind of way. See, you know things about that actor or actress, but you know your friend's heart. See, there is a difference. And when the Old Testament talks about God's foreknowledge, it means he chooses to love us before we even existed. Think about that. How could you not even be? And God expresses his love for you and has taken that love and spread it over your whole lifetime. Before you ever existed, before your parents existed, before your grandparents existed, before Adam and Eve existed, before there was a world, before there was anything, God expressed his love toward you. Kind of makes your head spin, don't it? If it doesn't make your head spin, your mind kind of tilt a little bit, you're not thinking about it properly. But that's how God is. The prophet Jeremiah, his calling, watch this. God told him, the prophet Jeremiah, he said, before I formed you in the womb, this is Jeremiah 1:5, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I consecrated you. My God, my God. Set him apart for ministry before the boy existed. Before you were born, I knew you. I love that. God did not, my friend, just know facts about Jeremiah. And he knew all the facts there were to know. But that's not all he knew. He gave that prophet a sacred purpose before he was. If you have a purpose, and you do, my friend, God selected that before you existed. Now, some of you, that makes you shout, and some of you don't like that. You're frustrated, feel like you're boxed in. Oh, but back up a second. Listen to me again. God made you. You didn't make yourself. There was no you. All right? There was no you for you to decide. He has the right to choose what to do with whatever and whomever he creates. He saw what he wanted you to be. You could choose to walk in it or not walk in it, and he knows what you're going to do, but he doesn't determine it. We'll get into that at another time. If you got a purpose, and you do, God knew it, and he set it aside for you. Now, you can kind of understand that more by looking at Israel's election as a nation. Sometimes our Jewish friends, I am told, some of them have said, we're just like everybody else. We're just as loved by God as anybody. Everybody else is just as loved as us, but we are more so. Whatever that means. We're loved just like everybody else, but we are more so. No such a thing, people, no such a thing. I mean, you can tell how much he loved them. Certain times he kicked them out of the land, scattered them all over the world for almost 2,000 years. But he selected them for a reason. Mostly because of a man by the name of Abraham, who decided for him centuries before. And he kept his promise to Abraham. God spoke to the nation of Israel and said this in Amos 3. He said, "You only have I known of all the families of the earth." Now, did you think God knew all the families of the earth? Yes, he did. But he said, "You only have I known." Doesn't mean I don't know about everybody else. He says, I have had a relationship with you because I have a job for you to do. God, friend, had a job for Israel to do. And it was to receive the word of God and to be a light to the Gentiles. A very small remnant of them grabbed a hold of it. And with them, the gospel was spread all over the planet. There are billions of people now who claim the God of Abraham and of Isaac and of Jacob. And sometimes, despite the majority of our friends, the Jewish people, enough of them said yes. It changed the whole world. Changed the whole world. So you only have I known, meaning I had a relationship with you because I have an aim. I have you as my aim, but I have the whole world equally as my aim. And I want, through Abraham, my name to spread throughout the world because I said I'd make him a father of many nations. Did not God know about the other nations? Absolutely he did. Knowing Israel meant he made a special promise to them for their sake and ours. How about Rebekah's twins, Isaac's wife, Rebekah's twins, right? In Romans chapter 9, the Apostle Paul tells about Rebekah's unborn children, right? There were Isaac and they were Jacob, right? He says that before they were born and before they had done any good or bad, God made a choice about them. God's purpose operates not because of works, but because of him who calls. See, he said, there's one that's going to be born before the other one. Normally, the firstborn is the first one to part the womb is the one who's called, the one who has the authority and who looks out for the family and gets a double portion and things like that, right? He's the one who becomes like the patriarch of the next generation. But God says, before these two boys are born, I'm going to elect Jacob before Esau. I said Isaac and Jacob, but Esau and Jacob. You guys checked it out, fact checked me. Esau and Jacob, right? He picked Jacob over Esau before either one of them made a choice. Why? Because God foreknew them. He knew the choices both boys would make. And trust me, neither of them were absolute angels, okay? Both had their stuff with them. But God knew there was some kind of a core inside of that one that would push forward his agenda and his purpose to the place and the time when the Messiah himself would be born and that the word of God would be spread over the world. He knew it, so he chose. And God has the right to choose who he wants. Well, why didn't he just let Jacob be born first? He's trying to get a lesson across to you. My friend, just because you weren't born first doesn't mean you are not preeminent to God. His foreknowledge is the basis of his calling toward us because he already knows, and he makes his choices. He knew you and he loved you before the world was made. I want you to grab a hold of that thought because I got much more to say about it. God is a God who has never been surprised. God is a God who through all the ages of history, he knows what his plan is. He never gets frustrated. He keeps moving it forward. When it looks like all things are lost, when it came to a point that the earth was so full of violence, he had to allow everybody to be destroyed and start over with another family. He knew it. He knew it. He's going to start over even with Moses. God knew. So he wasn't giving up on his plan, and God's going to get everything he wants. You know why? Because God is sovereign, and he sees the future. I need you to rest assured, my friend, that God's got it in control because, wow, he is the God who foreknew you. And oh yes, he foreknew me. Well, folks, the doctrine of God foreknowledge, that gets me going, you know. It is not meant to confuse you and me. No. It's a beautiful thing. Thank God that God knows. He wants you to understand, not only does he know, but he's connected intimately with everything we are and everything that we are going to be. He is the God who means to comfort us, to guide us into all truth. That's what it's about, see? Foreknowledge is meant to guide your life in a way that you will know it is not accidental. Your trials are not random. Truth is, friend, you know, there's some things that happen, certain things that happen, you call them coincidences. And just too many of them start happening for you to continue to believe that everything is random. Things are happening with patterns to them. There's got to be a God who's controlling and designing this thing. Before time began, my friend, before the stars were placed in the sky, God stood outside of time, and he saw your unformed substance. He knew every mistake you would make, every tear you cry, every joy you would experience, and looking at all of it, he set his love on you. My God, my God. See? He set it right down on your life. Rest assured, my friend. Be secure today, knowing that your life rests safely in the hands of God and that he's got it covered from the beginning to the end. Oh, my friend, God foreknew you.